Welcome back to our Business Resiliency series. My name is Ariana.
And I'm Ashley.
Today we are here with Dana. So Dana, to get us started, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to start your awesome gardening videos?
Thanks for having me join the two of you. You two are awesome powerhouses, and I appreciate what you're doing for the community right now. So thank you so much. How did I get involved? I do have an undergraduate degree in what's called the bioagricultural sciences and pest management, which is just a fancy way of saying sustainable agriculture. In my day job, I'm the noxious weed control coordinator for Kitsap County. So I deal with invasive plants a lot, and I deal a lot with farmers and all kinds of different folks out there. And when we kind of realized that COVID was going to be happening, I did what I call a panic planting, because I knew that the one thing that I really wanted to do was to have at least a little bit of food security. I wasn't too worried necessarily about the big shutdown of everything. But I also knew that I wanted to make sure that I had food a little more available than what I've had in the past. Also, I've had this section of lawn that I've tried to get rid of in multiple ways other years, and I've just kind of decided this year that I was going to give it my all. For me, the reason why I started doing videos was I'm a super social person, and I still needed a way to connect. I also have an autoimmune disease, so for me, I couldn't really go out or shouldn't be going out. So I felt like this was a really great opportunity for me to kind of lean into the things that I already loved, and to maybe share that love and enjoyment with other folks too.
That's so wonderful. Yeah, I've really enjoyed your videos, and I love it too because it's obvious how knowledgeable you are. I'm actually starting my gardening this weekend because of you, so I really appreciate it.
Excellent.
So this series, right, that we've been doing is about resiliency, and you, I think, have a very interesting perspective on this because not only are you really involved with the community and you get to see that in people, but you also see it in plants. How would you define resiliency?
The true kind of root of resiliency, and puns are totally intended. So the root of resiliency for me is just that ability to hold tight to something when everything else is wavering. So plants have this great ability to just send roots down into the ground, and even if you've got a big wind or you've got something happening, that root keeps it grounded and keeps it able to maybe even grow, even if something happens to the top of those plants. I think there was a point where I did show in one of my videos that I maybe got a little too excited and I put some plants out too early, and some of them died, but I kind of recovered some of them because that root system was super resilient. So resiliency to me is that ability to bend but never lose your groundedness.
And it's perfect, right? All the plant metaphors.
Yeah, I think the joy for me has been part of my other life is that I also am a minister. So for me, it's really this beautiful connection between the spiritual context of what we're all going through right now, and also the planting context. I think that as a society, we've been so distanced from our food and from our ability to even think that we can grow anything, that this time right now, I am just super excited to watch people get their hands dirty in a way that they haven't before, because it seems like it's too much work or too far out of their realm to be able to do anything. But the reality is if you plant a seed, 90% of the time that seed's going to grow. And if it doesn't grow the first round, you can plant another round of seeds a week later and it'll grow.
I think that that's really empowering, especially from that community standpoint. And it kind of goes into that next question, which is what role does food security play in developing and maintaining community resilience?
Well, I know I like to eat. And I think that we all can attest to the fact that we also do like to eat together. There's something really kind of in our DNA about having celebrations around food and around community itself. And when we have a way to grow food together, but then to also eventually harvest and eat that food together, I think it creates a strength that's that idea of not just the one thread in a rope, but there's multiple threads in a rope, and it all just connects us together. I think about the idea of seeing folks right now who haven't gardened in the past get out and just start something. It gives them hope for what can come in the future. And I think as a community, the more that we garden together, the more that we grow our knowledge, grow our food, and I think it does strengthen us. I think, we kind of have this idea that we can just go into the grocery store and get whatever we want, whenever we want, which is nice. And that's a really great opportunity. But I think actually physically touching your food and growing it and then sharing that with somebody, it's like sharing a piece of your soul with people. And I think that as we kind of come into this time, we're all going to be sharing pieces of our soul with each other when we come out of this and we get to have our big harvest dinners. I don't just think about what we're planting now, but I think about what we're going to harvest in the future.
That is powerful. And I love the vision of the harvest and that abundance, where right now, a lot of us feel like we're in that scarcity mode and things are kind of scary. But the work that we do and the efforts we make are going to be beautiful and create this beautiful harvest that we all get to partake in.
It's pretty amazing. I had a friend of mine say, she was like, well, I only live on a garden or a balcony and I can't really plant a big garden. And I said, that's okay. Plant some flowers, because even if you can't grow food, you can at least put flowers in the middle of the table at the harvest dinner too. And we all need that little bit of beauty too.
I know things are different, like in the national and world landscape, but if I were to look at, like my circle of people and then like what I've seen on social media, it's been really beautiful, like what people have done and how they've stretched themselves in a very compassionate way and shared what they've grown and what they have extra of. And it is, I think, coming out of this, I hope we're all able to hold on to like the depth of like compassion and beauty that some people have really shown through this.
Yeah, and I think that is the beauty of the resiliency side of that. Along with that, one of the organizations that I've really loved is Food is Free Tacoma. They've been doing a great job over the last couple of years of really just sharing anything extra that anybody has had, and they really upped their game this year and put out a lot more community garden boxes. So I'm super excited to see that really come to fruition, the dream that he has had for years about really feeding the community. And I hope that this is an opportunity for us to hit reset in how we do things and really evaluate when we come out of this, what are the pieces that we want to take forward with us? Because I do think that growing a little bit of food can make a big difference, because again, it's that sharing of our caring for food and then caring for our community.
Beautiful. With each person that we speak with, we kind of want to get their top 2 takeaway tips on how you build and maintain resiliency. So what do you have for us today?
Well, number 1 is never be afraid to ask for help. I think that is key for resiliency. Resiliency, we think that we know it all, but the reality is none of us know it all. We all have to lean on each other. And I think number 2 is lean into a little bit of those scary spaces sometimes. And I'll use another plant analogy of invasive species, right? So that's my job, is to get rid of some of these things. And yet I look at how resilient some of these invasives are, that like we can try to dig them out, we can try to do everything, but they've figured out how to wander around rocks and everything else. And the piece for resiliency that I see is go ahead and wander a little bit. Wander around those blockades, wander through things, and we'll come out on the other side together.
I feel like only you could take like a weed metaphor, like a noxious weed analogy, and like make it really beautiful.
I do have to put the plug in though, that for many of our noxious weeds, beauty is only stem deep. We really want to get to the root of the problem and get those out of there for the most part.
I love that public service announcement. So that was all the questions that we had for you. Did you want to add anything else?
Again, I appreciate the great work that you're doing. I think that highlighting folks during this time is super important. I do think, again, on this idea of resiliency, I think Tacoma is doing pretty well. It's that gritty city goodness that we have here that I think just continually comes back up for us in new ways. I've lived here for about 17 years, and it's just fun to watch the community grow. And as we're growing, I think we're defining who we're going to be through this growth. And it's great watching folks like you help give some guidance and some anchoring to that space.
Thank you so much.
I think the only other thing that I would really like to emphasize is that, with the idea of food sovereignty, we've all got to kind of stretch ourselves a little bit and not just share with our friends, but share with the greater community also. Hilltop Urban Gardens here is doing a fantastic job of that. They've been doing a great job for multiple years on getting food out to folks who maybe don't have the ability to do gardening. And then other than that, I just think, the idea of resiliency is a lot of resiliency ideas are really great on paper and sound really good, but this just feels like Tacoma has this really great organic way of making these connections right now. My other side kind of tagline for me is tying community together. I just think the more that we tie each other together, the stronger we are.
I love that.
Well, definitely, I've still got more videos that I'm posting up on Facebook, and I am not secret on Facebook. Anybody can find me. The Facebook group is Gardening for Our Greater Good Tacoma.
We appreciate you sharing all of your knowledge with the rest of us.
Well, I'm glad all my weird tidbits come in handy these days. I've been doing a lot of garden consult via videos. So Facebook video, I've had people walk me through their gardens and ask me a bunch of questions that way too. So
that's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been super fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dana.